What's something that is romantic in movies but creepy in real life? Basically everything you see in rom-com romance relationships. Having scream fighting matches with your partner constantly because you're both so passionate, like in The Notebook. Like, nah bro, you're just incompatible. Someone coming home and finding their entire apartment full of flowers when the sender obviously had no legal way to get in. Casually stalking who they're pursuing. Those elaborate plots that trick the other person into falling for you. Stopping someone's wedding and asking them to be with you. Really? You couldn't shoot your shot before the wedding? It's not a surprise event. You're really going to embarrass everyone involved and destroy their wedding day when you could have just showed up last Wednesday? Every male in the entire village always hitting on the one single blue female. Breaking into your crush's house and laying on their bed. Movies. AWW, he misses her, that's sweet. Real life. You going to jail. Stopping weddings. An overdramatic proposal in front of a bunch of strangers. Relentlessly pursuing an ex who clearly doesn't want you back. Sorry dude. Leaving wine and roses in your ex-girlfriend's car while she's at work isn't cute. Chasing someone who already said no. Multiple times. If someone is already in a relationship, trying to break them up. Love at first sight. No. That's just lust and desire. When couples are fake dating and trying to convince their family. Then the family forces them to kiss in front of everyone to prove their love. No family would ever do this in real life. It's weird. Like please. Make out in front of Nana and your Uncle Ken. Literally everything in the 50 Shades movies. Echo every misconception possible about BDSM. But dressed up for horny middle-aged housewives. If 50 Shades was set on a trailer park, it would be an episode of Criminal Minds. Extremely old vampires dating 16-year-olds. Not taking no for an answer. Hanging off a Ferris wheel. Threatening suicide for a date. Therapists dating or having sex with their patients. Oh, but they have such a deep connection. No. That's a malpractice lawsuit in the making. Bumping into the same person over and over again. Edit. Whoa. Thanks for the awards and all the comments. I think that's called intercourse. Showing up at someone's wedding to take the bride for yourself. It's almost a better question to ask what isn't creepy. Nothing. Stealing their baby brother and taking them to the castle at the center of the labyrinth to eventually turn them into a goblin. Sending an ogre and a donkey to rescue them from a castle so you can force them to marry you so you can become a king to make up for your small stature. Showing up everywhere. Stalking. Keep pursuing someone after no. Watching people sleep. Looking at you Twilight. In The Notebook. Ryan Gosling's character literally builds a house for his ex-girlfriend a decade after they split. Who is now married to somebody else. Imagine if that was real life. Imagine your teenage boyfriend out of the blue just built a house and expected you to move in with him. Creepy AF. When they fight too much and always shut each other up with a kiss. Noah and Ali had nothing in common. Still that seemed romantic somehow. Not taking no for an answer. Obsessive and unrequited love, sometimes spanning years, that ultimately succeeds because the less interested party gets worn down. And realizes they're a big dummy and they love them after all. Edit RIP my inbox. Good thing I have nothing better to do this week, so I'm reading all your replies. I'm seeing a lot of this worked out for me. I'm sure it did. Not everyone meets and falls in love on the same schedule, and sometimes it's all in the timing. I'm happy so many of you all found an amazing person to spend your lives with. Maybe you're the exceptions and not the rule. Maybe I'm but no one's obsessed with me. JK. That being said, I think being deluded and obsessed with someone where you've built them up in your head and have an idealized version of who they are is unhealthy. You don't want to be Harold from The Stand lol. Also PS tied for the awards. I know acknowledging them is lame, but my good manners never allow me to ignore it. Serenading them at their doorstep LMAO. Pursuing someone who is already in a relationship. Hitting on a client or customer. In movies, the employee who does that is often charming and good looking, and it is reciprocated. Romantically throwing rocks at someone's window to get their attention. Bruh, you better be ready to pay for insurance. Breaking through airport security to profess your love. Have fun getting tased and sent to prison, jackass. Turning up at your door with flowers. I once had a chap do this to me. I'd cancelled the first date as I got a creepy vibe from him. He stalked me online. Found my address. Drove 3 hours and turned up with a dozen red roses. Luckily I got a family member to answer the door and say I wasn't there, as he'd texted me half an hour before to ask whether I was home. I later let him know that this was not okay. Maybe more disgusting than creepy, but having spontaneous sex then just putting their clothes back on and going about their day without even cleaning themselves up. That's how you assert dominance. Force everyone else to endure your mask. The woman saying no. 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 NN. Yai. Yes. 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 You be going to jail, my friend. You're talking about hentai, aren't you? Serenading someone in general without breaking eye contact. Yeah. The editing makes it look good and all. But in reality it's more of a mix of creepy, awkward, and altogether wishing the moment was over. Hugh Grant. Forced kisses to shut up. My guy. She's being emotional and trying to work through her feelings and all you do is claim her lips. No. Pick you up at 8. More specifically, they meet for the first time, have a connection. He suggests dinner. She's charmed. Then he says pick you up at 8 and then they part ways. No phone number. No address. Sometimes no agreement. But sure, it's a date and they're at the restaurant next scene, so why not? Staring at you while you sleep. Looking at you, Edward Cullen. Trying to get your mum and dad to fall in love at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, but your mother ends up with the hots for you. All while trying to generate 21 gigawatts while driving at 88 miles per hour. When people talk like really close to each other's faces. Like 2 inches apart. And their breath probably stinks. Breaking into someone's house to watch them sleep. For months. Looking at you. Edward Cullen. I didn't find it romantic even in the movie, but I know a lot of girls that thought it was oh so dreamy. Movies that perpetrate adultery because suddenly the characters met again and apparently they didn't stop loving each after so many years. Despite having separate families of their own. I'd say don't go commit. Especially get married. With someone if you're not yet fully healed from your previous relationship. Any kind of combat. Sword fights. Fisticuffs. Or any other kind of violence on behalf of the person you're trying to woo. And even if violence is called for, if you do end up being the person who physically saves a woman from harm, that is not the time for flirting. I was once waiting outside my friend's place at 11 PM. And this woman was fast walking away from a really aggressive drunk guy. The guy was going beyond catcalling. At one point, he got in front of the woman and looked like he was about to shove or grab her. I got in between them. And I made him not her problem. After he fled. Do you know what I said to the woman? Nothing. Nada. The last thing a woman wants after she gets away from one guy is another strange person talking to her. Making someone choose between their career or their relationship. There's always big event or a promotion that one of the characters is up for and they make this big embarrassing speech like thank you for this promotion that I have worked my entire life for. Actually, you know what? I can't accept this. I choose love. Bitch. You can have both. Telling someone you have feelings for them using handwritten signs and a cheap tape player outside their home just weeks after their wedding, at which you were the best man while her husband, who is your best friend, sits inside watching a wine quiz show. Looking at each other all the time. Never saying goodbye at the end of a phone call and just putting the phone down. Adam Sandler in Big Daddy. He gets dumped. So he decides to adopt a child and present the kid to his ex in the hopes that she will come back to him and raise the kid with him as one little happy family. Cut to her obviously saying no, because who would say yes to this? Then at the end of the movie, they had to have a scene where he, now successful and happily taken, runs into his ex working tables as a waitress. Just perpetuates the idea that a woman should stand by her man. Wait for him to be the man he's meant to be. And if she doesn't, it'll be her loss in the end. Whole plot of There's Something About Mary is repulsive. So many red flags. I felt so bad for Cameron Diaz's character. Basically Mary was this all-around dream girl that boys went nuts over her. The men pretended they were someone else to win over Mary. She was constantly stalked. In the end, she had to pick who she wanted to date, and the choices were a pizza guy who pretended to be a British architect. He befriended her and tricked her for so long. Her high school ex whom she filed a restraining order on. This character is married with kids. That's so crazy. A horny con artist. Ben Stiller who isn't better than the rest of them. And her athlete ex, the only guy that wasn't creepy. All the stalking and pretending in that movie made me so uncomfortable. Not a movie. But I think it's relevant. Those manga anime where the sexually dominant person practically pairs assaults the other person as they keep saying no but seemingly enjoy the attention and develop feelings for them. After the romantic sexual act they just get embarrassed or slightly mad. Which is portrayed in a cute way. But never traumatized or ending up thinking that was I'm wrong. As a child teen I used to come across those often. I'm glad they didn't end up giving me the wrong idea about consent and love sex when I grew old enough to have my own sexual partners. I mean they definitely glorified that Sunday stereotype. And in that sense I think it definitely negatively affected my relationships in my teenage years. But luckily nothing immoral when it came to sex. I don't watch romantic anime manga much lately, but I hope there's less of that creepiness in the more recent works. I think I have seen a change but I'm not sure. Don't even get me started on like RP and lowly being actual genres. Long looks from the driver. Guys who want to pick you up for a first date. They might not seem like a serial killer but neither did Ted Bundy. Refusing to give up after you've been dumped. The age gaps. The men are consistently much older. Remember when Maggie Gyllenhaal was told that at mid-30s she was too old to be love interest to an actor old enough to be her father? Even films aimed at teenagers the male actor is usually mid-20s. Does PRN count? What are you doing? Stepbrother? The entire plot and concept of 50 First Dates. Sleazebag finds his perfect match in a woman who would never remember him if he left. And gets to watch her wake up to the shock of suddenly being 9 months pregnant. And whatever else he clearly enjoys. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just Adam Sandler. Either way, that film honestly gave me the creeps to a greater extent than a film like Grave Encounters. Turning up on someone's doorstep when they haven't given you their address. Kissing someone who is asleep. I think this is okay if it's your so I'm fine with it and think it's sweet when my fiance registered sign does this. But if it's a stranger, someone you aren't actually dating etc. then I definitely agree. Refusing to accept rejection. It's by far the most common trope in romantic media and really horribly wrong. I needed this thread between the ages of 14-18. I tried so hard with best intentions and got nowhere. Then I stopped trying for a year and met the wife. Not sharing the door you're floating on in the middle of the freezing Atlantic Ocean after you survive the capsizing of the Titanic. Absolutely nothing is creepy if you are handsome. Absolutely everything is creepy if you are not. 50 Shades of Grey would have been an episode of Criminal Minds if dude was broke and lived in a trailer. Showing up at the airport to confess your love at the last minute. Like, no. Boy. I'm dipping out of here. Without you. Like 99% everything ever in any movie, but essentially it all boils down to not respecting the other person, woman, enough to see them as an equal human being. This includes all the stalking, gaslighting, manipulation, not accepting no etc. PP. Hollywood and company. Standing silently in a married woman's doorway while dropping oversized cue cards. I don't like sand. It's all coarse. And rough. And irritating. And it gets everywhere. Grabbing a hold of a woman's arm and keeping her from walking away. The way that love is portrayed in many classic movies. Man finds woman attractive, woman says no, man says come on, woman says no, repeat, at some point he might even force himself on her. And while he forces his kiss on her, she suddenly realizes that this is what she wants. What do these kinds of movies teach little boys about love? No actually doesn't mean no. She just doesn't know it yet. Also, has anyone been rewatching some of the old sitcoms from the 90s? I didn't really realize this as a kid, probably because many of the shows had very similar patterns and it was just the normal way of portrayal. But how creepy is it? That Steve Urkel constantly stalks and harasses Laura. Then puts himself in some sort of victim role. Because saying no to the guy who loves her so much is so mean. He then even guilts the whole family into allowing him to live in the house. And in the end Laura marries him? This is really just Stockholm Syndrome and not romantic. Saving up all your jizz in a cup for a week. And then throwing it onto your crush right when she gets off work on a Friday afternoon. After that you run off screaming remember Granada. Having a baby. I watched The Holiday recently. And something that struck me as weird, which is never addressed in the film, is that Jude Law's character has sex in his sister's bed with basically a complete stranger. Showing up unexpectedly at someone's home and declaring your love. Going to their window that's on the second floor of the house and hitting the window with a rock until they open it. When the couple gets into a fight and is on a break or broke up and then she comes home and there is rose petals and stuff, that is all supposed to be a sweet romantic thing, and he tells her he is sorry and how much he loves her. Stalking someone to learn more information about them and then using said information to woo them. Literally every romantic movie trope is creepy and stalky and should never happen in real life. Breaking fourth wall. When two strangers who travel randomly together decide to end up in the same destination without even knowing each other well and they fall in love. Funny thing. I met my ex on the train. We didn't know each other before and started dating afterwards. It's not creepy if it's reciprocated. Breaking into the bedroom of children at night to steal them after convincing them that they can fly if you sprinkle them with magic dust. Oh, and to never grow up. And you are an adult in a kid's body. Whoa. When you really stop and think about it. That is a head-up story. Showing up at my app unannounced. Even if we're close friends. If you think about it. Most of the movie tropes would play extremely poorly in real life. Kinda funny that way. You'd almost be better off asking what happens in, say, a romantic comedy that actually would appeal to someone in the real world. Sawing your love interest's head open so you can eat his brain. Pretty much every film where the lead guy follows around his love interest and badgers her into a date despite telling him no multiple times. Also the trope where two guys fight over a woman who gets absolutely no say in who she dates. Sending flowers to your job after 1 or 2 dates. Sending flowers to a workplace without being married or in a committed relationship seems like a big no-no anyways. It might as well be the same as going to the workplace yourself to let everyone know of your undying love for them, because everyone is either gonna see the flowers and ask questions or they'll be told of the flowers and ask questions. Being sang to. Surprising your partner with massive financial decisions. If you don't mind, I'd like to weigh in before you buy me a car or even a Rhine house. Social interaction. Ugh. Following someone and/or relentless romantic gestures to win you over when you have already stated that you're not interested in pursuing them. Relentlessly pursuing. The use of every breath you take. They used it in Stranger Things for the dance scene and is often played at weddings when in reality it's a song about stalking when you listen carefully. One of the actors of Strange Things actually asked the producers about it. And they said it was on purpose. You know that scene from Romeo plus Juliet, the one with Leo DiCaprio, where Romeo and Juliet meet. 30 seconds later they can't keep their lips off each other? Cute in the movie. Isn't that the point of Romeo and Juliet? That they are two children with no conception of how love works who thought that this was all how a couple was supposed to act? BTW, they knew each other for less than a week before the suicide. Swinging across Manhattan to your girlfriend's house and landing right outside her bedroom window in desperate need of medical attention after fighting a mutant lizard for a newspaper prize. Please say you know which movie I'm referencing. Edit. The movie I was referencing was The Amazing Spider-Man. Singing at someone. Recently watched Top Gun again and the scene in the bar is so disgusting. Then he follows her into the bathroom. Even when she is there with another man and has told him no. After I broke up with one of my exes, he turned up on my doorstep with flowers and what seemed like a whole class of children that shouted "We love you" when I opened the door. May have been romantic in a movie, but in real life I just shut the door and wanted the world to swallow me up. Cringed.